as people became more and more educated, as Catholics began to read the Bible and study it earnestly and honestly, they could see that that wasn't Jesus' intention at all. Plus, Americans, of course, don't have any truck with monarchical European models. And as they became more biblically oriented, they could see this is not what Jesus intended at all. In fact, it's the opposite. And then you add the corporate secular syndrome, you get the kind of church we have today, especially Calvin, who was the worst of them all. Not the worst, but the most reactionary of them all, so to speak. Martin Luther and King Henry VIII of England, who founded what we call the Anglican Church today, which is not Protestant. It's between Catholic and Protestant. The Orthodox, of course, are the same church as the Catholic Church, even though they don't like the Pope, and you can't blame them. It was all a political fight in the 11th century. Anyway, as we began to get into postmodern times, or whatever historians are going to name this era we're living in, and people got more serious about their faith, and as I say, they had the biblical models, and the consensus of the faithful was the norm. They had the four important patriarchates, Jerusalem, of course, the mother church. Rome is not our church, Jerusalem is. Alexandria in Egypt, now Muslim. Constantinople, now the modern city of Ankara in Turkey, and Rome. And they viewed it, we viewed it as the man in Rome, because St. Peter happened to die there. He could have died in Antioch. He could have died in Jerusalem, like some of the other apostles. That would be the seat of the church. So we have the Petrine power. It's indisputable, and Protestants have acceded to that by their biblical studies. So then the church got more and more monarchical, and the Pope became an absolute dictator with his own country, the Papal States, which Italy finally woke up and threw him out, Pius IX in 1870, a little late. And so going back to a more modern Pope, Pius XI, he was a good Pope, but he wasn't great. But he used to talk about the necessity of Catholic lay people, because he believed in clergy and lay, collaborating with their bishops to do social ministry. So that's way back in the 40s. After Vatican II, of course, people woke up to who they were, the people of God. They were the final norm of morality and teachings, and not the bishops. But then Vatican II stuck with the word collaborative, that the lay people, the secondary citizens of our church, could or are allowed or are permitted, think of that arrogant attitude, to collaborate with their local bishop or the national conference of bishops. Whereas when you read the scriptures, everything is collegial. Consensus and collegiality. We don't have voting. We're not an American church, thank God. We're a church founded on Jesus and his vision, his intention, as best we can discern it. And so the church is supposed to be absolutely collegial, based upon the absolute equality of every single baptized member. So if you read all the documents since, it's all about collaboration. But that's a trick, so to speak. Or to an intelligent layperson, it's offensive.